I'm here today with John Sonmez from Bulldog Mindset. Very impressive guy, has all his stuff in order. Really looking forward to this conversation with someone that actually has, body right, money right, relationships right, mindset right. So, John, very happy to have you on the show, man.
Thanks, Arno. I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. I wouldn't say I have it all right, but I'm I'm doing it. I still feel like things are a mess sometimes, but I'm doing the best I can, and I'm trying to improve in every area
I mean,
as
I
I
mean,
can. But I appreciate
compared,
it.
compared to the average dude, you have it pretty, squared away, right?
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say that's true. Yeah.
No. I mean, if you like, for everyone who doesn't know you, can you give me like the quick rundown of who you are and how did you get started in this world?
Yeah. So my name is John Sonmez from Bulldog Mindset. I started out really in the software development space. I was a software developer for like 15 years. And as a kid growing up, I was kind of this shy, introverted, nerdy kid. Wasn't athletic, was lazy, really none of the attributes that I like, espouse today, right?
Yeah.
I had very much the victim mindset for a large portion of my life, where I blamed other people, circumstances, women on my situation. And, I was pretty successful as a software developer. I definitely had some level of personal development as I learned some work ethic and things like that. And I started creating a platform for software developers, teaching them a lot of programming concepts and then eventually soft skills. And I wrote a couple of books on that subject. And as I was sort of progressing in my life in that area and reading a lot of really good books like Psycho Cybernetics, Man's Search for Meaning,
That's great.
Think and Grow Rich, like all those kind of marketing and sales guys, books that I think marketing and salespeople, personal development books that they are exposed to, it really expanded my mind a lot. And as I started going more and more down that path, I started to realize that the thing that I really wanted to teach was the kind of the Stoic principles that I was learning, the things that were improving me. So that's where I started Bulldog Mindset, the idea of getting rid of the victim mindset and teaching men how to be men. Right. As I started kind of going down the path of masculinity and understanding those concepts, as I feel like I started to develop into a man myself. And so that's kind of what I do now is I teach men how to be men. I have a large emphasis on teaching men how to become financially free because I retired at 33, officially, and became financially free. And, I run marathons. I just ran a half marathon a couple of days ago. I train, pretty hard. And I work on all those kind of aspects of my life because I take a very holistic approach. So that's kind of where I'm at now.
Yeah, that's real quick. And how old are you now?
I am 42.
Okay. So and you're still competing, still running, like you're a fit dude, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Recently, let me do it in reverse order because I saw I think I saw somewhere that you mentioned that, I mean, you're looking better than ever, which is unusual when when you reach our age, like late 30s, beginning 40s. Like, what do you attribute that to? Because you've been on this journey for a while, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a few things, right? I think one of the most important things, which is going to sound a little hokey, is the internal change mindset, because I do believe very firmly that your external is a reflection of your internal.
Yes.
And if you go back to my older YouTube videos, I had a very high pitched voice. I did not present in the way that I do. I did not come across the way that I do. I was a different person.
Yes.
I looked different, right? The way I came across it was just totally different. I sounded different, right? And people always ask me, how did you change your voice? It's like, I didn't really consciously try to change my voice. It changed as an effect of my internal changing. As the internal changes, I think your external does really change.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing. And then the second thing that I would say on a less, metaphysical level would be that I started implementing fasting. I started doing 1 meal a day about, gosh, it's been probably like 7 or 8 years now, which I do feel like, and there's some evidence to show that up now scientifically that does reverse aging to a degree or slows down aging. And then, I've always, in the last 10 years, stayed physically active, always been pushing myself to the next level. I did an ultra marathon a couple of years ago. I'm training all the time. I just make sure that I'm staying on the program that I've set,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
routine. That's, I keep take good care of myself. So
It's funny. I did a video a couple, I don't know, a couple days back, a couple weeks back, and video was like life is long. Like it's not short. It's pretty long, really. You got to put in the reps, etc. And I had this thought where if I put the Arno from 10 years ago and I would put him up against me now, I would crush him probably. I mean,
right.
physically, right? Yeah. Wouldn't even be close. And that's such a it's an empowering thing where you realize that like life is like an upward cycle in a way.
Right.
Probably the 70-year-old Arno is not going to beat the 40-year-old Arno, but I hope he's more clever. He's more strategic. He's still going to beat him, but not physically strong, right?
Just not physically. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way of looking at it.
I would hope
like
so.
That.
But it is an upward cycle. And like for you, because you went through your development really quickly, because at one point you were, soft, and I mean, I don't want to insult you, but fat, because I was there as well. Like my grandma still has a picture of me on her desk with me being fat. It's like an insult. Yeah. It's really. You have the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And like, how do you what awakening went on in your mind to go from fat to where you are, now or a couple of years later?
Yeah, I mean, it comes back to what I was saying about the internal influence the external, right? It's identity. I think identity is the most powerful force in the universe. I feel like that is a true statement, and it's because our identity shapes who we are, right? Again, this is something that really was touched on by Dr. Maxwell Maltz in Psycho-Cybernetics when he was talking about book. How your self-image, how you view yourself, you can't escape it. Like that is what you will rise or fall to, whatever your self-image is. Yeah. And so for me, what ended up happening was I remember getting to a point where I had to buy some US size 46 pants because the 44s didn't fit. And that's where I had to say, hey, John, you're fat. Like you're not just like you're a fat ass, right? That's what it was. And so at that point, I realized that I kind of developed this concept. I call it everyone thinks they're going to be a rock star someday, right? So there's this kind of thing that's in the back of our head that's like, oh yeah, someday I'm going to have the Lambo. Someday I'm going to get the girl. Someday I'm going to have the, be on the fitness magazine cover.
The ship is going to come in. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. And it's not like we truly believe those things, but we just feel like we have enough time and that someday, like, that's why we say, oh, I'll start the diet on Monday, right? Let me enjoy this right now. I just, or I'll start the business next week. I'm too tired after working today, right? It's like, because we believe that someday, the ship's going to come in. And so that I kind of had this realization, this come to Jesus moment where I was like, look, you're a fat ass now, and you're going to continue to be one, because how you live one day is how you live every day. And so if you don't absolutely make a change in your life, all those things you think you're going to have, they're not going to happen. Right. They're just not going to happen. You have to make them happen. Yeah. And no one else cares, and no one else is going to do this for you. And that's where I really started to get serious and realize that I had this one life, and if I wanted to have all the things I wanted out of this life, I would have to just do it now. So that.
And what age are you when you realize this?
That must have been, I think, 28. I think that's when I started on that path. Yeah, because by the time I was 33, that's when I became financially free. So it was about a 5-year period before I hit that.
That's a pretty short time span, right?
Yeah.
And like when you're fat, like are you making good money at this time?
I mean, I was making good money as a software developer. I think maybe like 100,000 a year or something around there. So,
but that's not like financial independence level, right?
No.
You have to make a quantum leap from there to get to where you were, where you went to five years after that. So
yeah. Oh, go ahead.
You start getting your physical stuff in order, but at the same time you're getting like your money stuff in order. How does that work? How do you get there?
Yeah. Again, I think it's because I changed that identity. I saw myself differently, right? I saw myself as who I wanted to become and started
Yes.
pretending like I was that person. And so what ended up happening was I I got I started running. I started getting on a diet, right? Going to the gym, just working on that. I had a goal of losing 5 pounds every 2 weeks. And if I
Mm.
didn't lose the 5 pounds, then whatever I missed it by, I'd have to run that many miles extra every single day for the next 2 weeks.
Ooh.
Now, I never missed the goal one time because I had that penalty in place, and I
Yeah.
lost 100 pounds, over 100 pounds in a few months' time.
Holy shit, that's a lot of weight,
Yeah.
man. Wow.
And
Awesome.
but at that same time also I was investing in real estate. I'd already started investing in real estate earlier. I was buying one property per year,
Yeah.
but I started really working on business side of things, on building. There's a company that did software development training called Pluralsight, and I started
Yes.
creating courses for them. I became their best author, the number one author. I started working on my business, on building up my blog at the time, and then eventually my YouTube channel. And I just put in, there was a period of time where I was just grinding. And I remember I would wake up in the morning and I would either go for my run or hit the gym. And then I would work my regular job, my 9 to 5 job, for 8 hours. Then I'd have a quick break for dinner, spend a little bit of time with the family, and then about an hour or two later, I would go back to work for another 4 or 5 hours every single night, and every single weekend I would work for just 6 or 7 hours during the day, and I did that for like 2.5 years in order to to reach that point. So,
And like, I don't want to like keep asking you the same question and forcing you to give the same answer, but what I like, my audience is a lot of like young guys, motivated, like they're fired up to make it, etc. But I mean, you work your job or you go to school, whatever, you come home, eat dinner, and then you're tired, or
right.
you do whatever. And usually I get the question of like, how do I sort of get over the procrastination? How do I motivate myself to get going? And I mean, I understand that if it's your identity, you do it, but probably the question is going to be like, how do I get there? Like, how do I actually do that? How do I become that dude?
Yeah. So
Right?
forging a new identity comes from two main places. The number one is your environment. I always say you are what you pickle in. You put a cucumber in pickle brine, it becomes a pickle, right?
Yes.
And so you have to really control your environment. I guarantee you, if most of the guys that are listening, if you stop watching TV, stop, turn off your Facebook and your Instagram and all the junk that you're following, and you change your input so your environment is just people that are succeeding in business, they're succeeding at your goals, fitness wise, all of these things, just positive inputs, reading books, a lot of really good books.
Yeah.
If you change that, you start going for runs and you're listening to audiobooks, it is going to change you. It will change your identity. It will change how you view yourself. That is one of the best ways, is just to remember you are what you pickle in.
Yeah.
And the second thing is you become what you do, right? So for instance, I never saw myself as a long distance runner, and that's because I'm 230 pounds. I'm I'm not built for that. I'm built for lifting weights and
Yeah.
whatnot. But I've run like 6 or 7 marathons, like 11 half marathons, and a 50-mile race. And the way that I became that was I started doing it. I started acting like the person who was a marathoner or an endurance athlete. And then I became one by simply doing that thing. And so if you were to run, let's say 10 miles every single day, you become a runner, right?
Yeah. Obviously.
It's
Yeah.
like, so you just have to put in the take those actions. That will shift your identity, right? From a very pragmatic perspective.
Yeah.
How do you fight the procrastination and laziness? There's two things I would say there. One, the most valuable skill you can probably learn in life is to work without motivation. Too many people are waiting for motivation in order to do things,
Yeah.
and that you will never succeed in life by waiting for it, because you're not going to feel motivated all the time.
Yeah.
In fact, most of the time you're not going to feel motivated, but you're going to do it anyway, right?
Yeah.
Discipline is by its very definition is doing something whether you feel like it or not.
Yeah.
Right. And the second thing about it is to start being strategic, right? So my dad, when I was growing up, he used to tell me, pay yourself first. He used to say, when you get a paycheck, take 10% and put it in savings, right? Pay yourself first. That's the first person you pay. I pay myself first with my time. So when I was working a regular job, I would spend the first hour of my day doing something for me, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I recommend for a lot of guys is
Beautiful.
don't, you can always work a regular job, like wake up an hour or 2 hours earlier, work on your business, go to the gym, whatever it is that you don't have time for, you're tired after work, and do that first when you have the energy.
Yeah.
And then you can go and work for your employer, and you can handle that. But if you do it the opposite way, it's much harder.
Yeah, it's going to get lost, right? I mean, it's going to get like fall between the cracks, and before you know it, the day's over. No, I completely agree. Are you still 230 pounds now?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah.
Like, how tall are you?
I'm 6'3".
Oh, you're pretty okay. Yeah,
Yeah, so I'm fairly tall, so it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 6 foot tall, and what am I? I'm 86 kilograms. So what is that?
That's
I'm
about
thinking like this guy is a giant. Holy shit!
that's like 175 pounds, I think, something around
Wait,
there.
let me check.
Maybe 180
That's
pounds.
190 pounds.
Oh,
Yeah,
190 pounds.
that's
Okay,
me.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So and when you say like you run ultra marathons, you run half marathons, you're in your 40s now. Isn't that hard on your knees, on your joints? Isn't that a thing?
I never had a problem at
Really?
all. I
Okay,
mean,
yeah.
when I ran shorter distances, I had issues like some knee pains.
Yeah.
But once I moved it up to running, and at one point I was running 80 miles a week.
Holy shit.
Never had any kind of, I mean, I've had some, some issues with some inflammation, but not in the knee joint itself
Okay.
that I've taken care of. But yeah, and I'm running on the trails and whatnot.
Awesome.
I think that when you run enough, also that it does strengthen your knees.
It
So,
sort of strengthens your
yeah.
tendons and your joints, right? Yeah. No, I see. Yeah,
I
same
think
here.
the
like,
strength.
yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever
I think
but you
oh,
go first. Sorry, my bad.
I was gonna say that I think the strength training might have had something to do with it as well, because I had built up the musculature
Yeah.
with training in the gym, that the running doesn't impact me as much. So,
Are you in the gym every day?
no, actually, I used to be. Progressively over time, my gym routine becomes less and less and more optimized. So what I'm actually doing now is kind of unbelievable. I just shifted this year, but I go to the gym twice a week and I lift for 25 minutes.
Really?
I do a full body workout, one set to failure. That's it. But to ultimate failure, to absolutely like you can't even move the bar at all. I do all the machines. I used to do the bro split back in the day.
Yeah.
And do 4 day splits.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I migrated to doing full body workouts 3 times a week, which I did for the last like 5 or 6 years probably. But then just this year, I was reading some science on from a couple of different sources. One of my friends, Jay Vincent, who has a fitness channel on YouTube, he was talking about this, and I went and worked out with him once, and he was like, yeah, I lift once a week or twice a week, and I do a full body workout, just one set. And so I went and worked out with him, and I saw how he does the one set to failure. And then I started doing some research. There's a book called Why Weightlifting Doesn't Work. It's by, I can't remember his name, but he invented the X3 bar.
Okay.
And he says the same thing. And then I started looking at the science. There's a book called Body by Science.
Yeah.
And looking at some studies, and I found that the truth of the matter is that if you run a muscle to complete failure, that's all you need to do. You don't have to do multiple sets. You just need one time getting it to complete absolute failure. And so far it's been working. Like I said, I'm in the best shape that I have.
Yeah, super interesting, man.
Yeah, smallest amount of, and I applied the same kind of principle to my running as well, because I used to run 80 miles a week or so. And now I'm running maybe 25, 30 miles a week, but up in the mountains, running hard instead of, I used to do a lot of slow, like long distances.
Exactly. Yeah.
But now, and that's what they say to train for endurance, but I'm training hard now, and I just did my half marathon PR just 2 days ago. So
So by training hard over like shorter distances, you can still keep running longer distances. Is that correct?
I still do one long run per week, or
Yeah.
where I'm out on my feet for like 2 to 3 hours, but the rest of them are, again, it's relative short to me, right? So
Yeah. Okay.
I run maybe an hour or up to an hour and a half at a high intensity, but only 4 times per week. So
Like let's say I want to improve my 5K time.
right.
Would you run 5Ks or would you run 2Ks? Or how would you do it?
I mean, I would I would do a combination of, I would do a long run
Mhm.
on Sundays where I'm running probably at least like 5 or 6 miles,
Yeah.
right? And then I would do a lot of intervals, really high intensity running at your 1K pace,
Yeah.
breaking it up into sets, doing some running 400s and 800s,
That's
things like
interesting,
that.
man.
Really, yeah,
Yeah. I mean that's a very interesting approach because um where did I picked this up, like the same principle that you were talking about. Someone told me about it a couple days ago, and now it comes up again, which is really it's interesting, man. I mean the whole idea of going one set is so counterintuitive, especially like I've been in a gym for I don't know 15 years or something, and it's
yeah.
so counter programming, right? It's against everything you've ever learned.
Yeah, I was scared to do it because I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this was like, I mean, I've spent so much time. But there's also this company that's making a device called, it's called Speed
Yeah.
Fitness, I think SPEEDE.
Yeah.
And it's based off of the science. And
Okay.
so, I mean, literally they have this machine that has progressive resistance that basically, uses biofeedback to figure out, to get you to absolute muscle failure
Yeah.
within like 2 minutes, right? And so you could do a full body workout in 10 to 15 minutes and get, better results than guys spending hours in the
Like
gym.
help me out. Like what does a full body workout look to you? Like is it one exercise for legs, then we go to back, uh
So,
chest?
so my routine, what I do right now is I do one chest exercise, like a chest machine,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'll do one like a back exercise, like pull downs
Yeah.
or rows,
Yeah.
again, machines. And then I'll do a shoulder press machine. And then I'll do a bicep curl. Either sometimes I'll do those with free weights because I think with those you can still go to absolute failure, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's not, and then a tricep push down, and then I'll do a leg press, and then abs. I'll do one ab crunch machine. So
Okay.
that's it.
Super interesting, man. And you've been doing that for how long now?
It's been, I'm trying to think how long it's been, probably 4 months that I adopted that program.
And you're seeing great results.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's you didn't change diet, you didn't change anything else. That was it.
The only other thing that I did was I greatly increased protein to
Oh,
about 300 grams per day, which is very high. It's
that's
around
high.
two. Yeah, over
Wait,
one
wait, wait. You're
gram per
eating one
pound.
meal?
Well, I'm splitting it a lot of times between once I start really up in the protein, so that I'll split it up where, I might start eating at 2 or 3 p.m.
Yeah.
and then eat the dinner meal and then maybe a little bit afterwards. So it's kind of a window of maybe like 4 hours or 5 hours
Yeah,
that
okay.
I'm eating. Yeah.
But you're taking in a lot of protein. That's a lot. Like
Yeah.
300 grams of a shitload of protein. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot. I use a lot of different tricks to do that. I've got, pre-made protein shakes that are like 30 grams each,
Yeah.
right? And then I've got like these protein pop tarts that are like, I think 20 grams, protein bars. And then I'll use like lunch meat that doesn't have the, nitrate free lunch meat
Yeah.
with high protein wraps. What else do I do? I do non-fat Greek yogurt that
Mm.
I just mix in like one of those water flavor
Yeah, yeah.
things, like Mios or whatever. And that's a huge amount there. What else do I do? Like I've got protein chips that I get, edamame beans. So I just kind of try to optimize it all around, different things that are high,
Yeah, I get
really
it.
high protein. Yeah.
So it's high protein and like high fat, low fat. What are we like carbs? What are we doing?
I only really focus on the protein. It's really just high protein, and I try to keep it low sugar,
Yeah.
right? Because that's really the thing. But if you try to eat really high protein, you're pretty much just going to end up with that anyway, because it's going to be high protein, high fat, or higher on the fat side. It's going
Yeah.
to be
Almost
fairly
always, right?
lower. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
when you're like you're making this transition from programmer, sort of nerd or dork, like and
yeah.
then you're improving your life in general. Like, at what point do you realize, hey man, I want to teach this to other men. I want to improve other guys. Like, what age are you? What made you realize that?
It's just been something that I always have been doing
Yeah.
to a degree, right? I believe that the way to find your purpose in life is to figure out the thing that you do no matter what station or circumstance you are in life, right? So for me, if I were a janitor, I'd figure out the best way to mop the floor, and then I would teach other janitors how to do it,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't matter what I'm doing. And as a software developer, I was always mentoring other people. I eventually made a blog and a YouTube channel teaching what I was learning. So it's always whatever I'm learning in life is what I'm teaching, right? Even within my content in Bulldog mindset, a lot of where I've shifted now is to more relationship stuff as opposed to dating. And
Yeah.
so it's kind of
Yeah.
because I'm in a relationship. So so that's kind of what happened, is that it just followed my progression in life.
I get it. And that it sort of leads into a question I wanted to ask you, because like you're like when you start out in your like late 20s, early 30s, you're you're probably playing the field, you're in the dating market, you're having fun probably. Not to say you don't have fun now. I mean, you must have a lot of fun, right? Not saying that at all, but it sort of shifts gradually from where you are now in life. Because I notice you're in a relationship, you've met a special someone. How does that how does that translate into your content? Like, were you ever into the whole play the field, I'll never marry, I'll never have a long-term relationship? Were you ever that guy?
Yeah, well, sort of. I mean, it's kind of complicated. I had a complicated situation because I was married,
Mm,
right? I didn't really talk about that very much publicly. I got a divorce,
mm.
and I had done a lot of the kind of the pickup type of
Yeah.
stuff. Taught some guys that I did coaching. I mean, I would literally take guys to Vegas and show them how to pick up girls, right? But at the same time, I always felt like the way that I was coming about it was different than a lot of guys, in the sense that it was more of the seducer type of approach, which fits with also having a relationship, right? The
Yeah.
idea that it's like, I was, if you think about kind of the Don Juan type of approach, where you would meet a girl, sweep her off her feet, but
Exactly.
then you disappear the next day. But she's like, well, but she feels better off because she's met
Yeah.
you, because you're this wonderful guy that
Yeah.
treated her really well. Like, even if you're only interested in a very short term thing, right? And so that's kind of like the progression is, I've kind of always held those same kind of concepts of principles of being a man, what it is to be masculine.
Yeah.
And so even in a relationship, those same things apply, right? So I feel like it's fairly congruent, but my shift has been more on, I don't create necessarily content about picking up girls because I'm not doing that,
Yeah.
but I might talk about still male to female interactions, or then how to be a man in a relationship. It's more shifted in that direction.
No, I get it 100%. Like I wasn't I used to be in real estate for a long time. I saw I mean at least 500 like either divorce cases or people separating, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
like
yeah,
the absolute main reason why women, mainly women, would tell me that the relationship broke up was that he wasn't a man anymore. He,
yeah.
and the spark was just gone. But the main reason was he wasn't a man anymore. So in whatever relationship stage you are, there's gonna be content there to make, right? With you
Exactly.
being the
Yeah.
masculine influence. So that sounds very familiar. But for you, like what made it like with your current relationship, what made you stick? Like what made it special for you to say, yeah, this is the girl, this is the one?
Yeah. That's it, it's tough to say. It's almost like when you know, right?
Mhm.
I had did a lot of different women, and one thing I tell guys all the time is that probably the most important characteristic in selecting for a mate is how does she treat you, right? Does she treat you like a king? Is what I say is a sort of a good benchmark. A lot of people I think misinterpret what that means, because my whole dynamic is that you should treat her like a princess. She should treat you like a king,
Yes.
not a queen, right? And then people are like, well, that's weird. Why, as it's because you think of it as a foreign kingdom, like
Yeah.
you're treating her like the princess of a foreign kingdom, not your own,
Yeah.
but and then she treats you like a king,
I
because that's
see.
how it should go. It's not king and queen. It's not
Yes.
you rule together. It's that you're
Yeah.
the man, right? And
Yeah.
so, but I just felt from the very beginning that she was someone who had a high degree of respect for herself, also developed herself, was continually on the path of improvement, and treated me just wonderfully, just as appreciated me, treated me amazing. I think there's an aspect of that too, that is mixed with where I was as a man at this point in my life, in the sense that I had built the confidence because I knew I had been dating a lot of different women.
Yeah.
So I knew that there was no scarcity mindset, right? I could keep on playing the field. I was having a good time. I was enjoying it. I had
Sure.
no need to get into a relationship.
Yeah.
But I had also learned how to treat a woman and to have a backbone at the same time as being kind
Yeah.
and being that kind of person. And so that led me to the path where I was ready for this kind of relationship. I would say, where I do believe that to a very strong degree, a woman is a reflection of the man that she's with in a relationship. And so a lot of guys complain about women, and especially about women in Western society. And what they don't realize is that, yeah, there may be a lot of ideas of feminism and things that are not accurate, that we have to contend with as men in Western society today. But what they don't realize is their power to mold and shape and influence the woman that they're with, right? And
Yes.
so I think that's a really important thing. And so a lot of the times it's not the woman, it's who you are as a man. And I
It's
feel like if
you.
you're in the right place as a man, not only will the right woman come along, but you also make her become the right woman
Yeah.
because you have a greater influence.
No, no. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like today, like I just this afternoon, I got a question from someone saying, like, people keep screwing me over. How do I
Mm,
handle that? And like the answer is, like, you are the guy that allows people to screw you over. Like, it's on
right.
you, brother. I mean, you can't change them. That's, you can't change people, but you can change you. So it's the same with women, right? I mean, you sort of pick whoever you deal with, and you sort of select whoever you deal with on the same basis. Like, if she treats you right, there's room to grow together, and if there's not, that's all fine. I mean, that's all good. So
Yeah.
we both move on there our merry way. That's all fine.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, you can't control another person. Like, she can do whatever she wants to do, and you really shouldn't even get upset about it. Like
No.
you shouldn't really get upset about it. It's just a selection. You have a standard. I always say expectations are burdens you put on other people. Standards are things you have for yourself, right? And so if you're with a woman and she disrespects you, you can set a clear boundary and say, yeah, I don't like to be talked to like that. And
Yeah.
then if she persists, you can say, don't talk to me like that. And then if she persists, that's her right. You don't even have to be upset. You don't have to spend your time with her. That's it, period.
Can,
Right.
can,
And
can
so you
can
can,
you repeat that? Like, the expectations are a burden you put on.
expectations are a burden you put on other people.
Yeah,
Standards are things you have for yourself. Right.
that's
So for
deep.
example, a good example of this is, let's say, guys are always like, oh, well, I don't want a girl that would cheat on me.
Yeah,
Well, you can't. Having an expectation that your girlfriend's not going to cheat on you is ridiculous. It's just
yeah,
as ridiculous as having expectation you're going to go outside and it's going to be sunny when it's raining.
yeah,
Like the weather doesn't care about you. World, society,
yeah.
random chance, it doesn't care about you. So, but then guys are like, oh, that's not. I mean, I should. If she cheats on me, I shouldn't have a girl that's going to cheat on me. I should have. It's right for me to have an expectation,
Yeah.
and it's wrong. You can't have an expectation because you can't control it. You can only have expectation on things you control, but you can have a standard that
Mm.
says, if a girl that I'm with cheats on me, then I won't be with her anymore.
Exactly.
That's a standard you can have, and that's within your control. You can control
Yeah.
that. And then if she does do it, again, you might not like that, but there's no need to be really upset and angry about this thing, because you knew there was a possibility. And probably if you really examine deeply, you can find that you were actually the root cause of it, because there was probably something you didn't see early on that caused that.
Yeah.
That you're still the person who made the choice to be with this person, right? Whether or not they deceived you or tricked you or whatever it is, you still made the choice. So you still
allowed
ultimately
yourself to be
responsible.
deceived or tricked, right?
Exactly.
That's the way it goes. Yeah. And that's the only way you have power over it as well, right?
Right.
I mean, if you say that I was deceived, that's sort of giving all the power away. If you say that, I allowed myself to be deceived, now you're taking it back. Yeah.
Exactly.
You have at least you have control over it. And like you and I both, like we are of somewhat similar age. We grew up in a time where internet wasn't really a thing.
Right.
I remember getting the first Nintendo with Super Mario Brothers, the Plumber Brothers, and then all of a sudden the internet comes along, etc. And now you have this entire like this dopamine addiction thing where scrolling and Instagram, TikTok, etc. And to me, like, I don't go on TikTok. I think it's a silly place. But that's just me being a boomer. But like how you must have the same. You must get the same questions as I do. Like, how do you handle the whole scrolling dopamine addiction thing? How do you actually deal with that?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, 95% of men are addicted to pornography, right?
Yes.
That's a true thing. Like it's funny. My fiance was asking me about that, and she was like, "Well, how do you know if a guy is?" And I'm like, I just assume that every guy that I meet is.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because if he hasn't overcome it, if he hasn't tried to overcome it, then he is. Like, that's just the default. Like, and anyone that's telling you different is just lying. It's fine. Like, it's nothing to be embarrassed about.
Yeah.
But that's just the reality. That's what it is. And it's the same thing with all the other addictions of Instagram and scrolling, and you have to actively fight those things.
Yeah.
Right. That's where also I think doing hard things in life is useful, right? That's why I run. That's why I make myself do things I don't want to do, is because that sort of counteracts that. In fact, there was this study, I think maybe Huberman was talking about it on his podcast, or I saw some video where they're talking about how actually, if you do things that are painful, hard things, your base level of dopamine is higher, because comparatively, right? For example, let's say I go for a 2-hour run, hard run in the mountains, right? I'm in a lot of pain doing that. I go home, I lay on the floor, on the hard floor. It feels good, right? So I'm happy with less, right? Just not being in pain makes me happy, right?
Yeah.
So
That's enough.
It's sort of like when our lives are too easy, then, then it's like, oh, it's like, oh, my pillow's not comfortable. I'm unhappy or whatever, what I'm saying. But if you go and run in the mountains,
not fluffy enough. Yeah,
exactly. And we've really become this really soft culture, especially men today, where they're just like, everything bothers us and we get too butthurt about everything. I was going to make a t-shirt that says, if you're butthurt, you're wrong. But
that's good,
because it's something to remember.
But I get what you mean. Like I've been like when I'm in like fight training, like hardcore, like you're training. Like, I mean, there's no way I'm gonna watch porn.
Right.
I don't have the energy. I don't have the need for it anyway. Like I'm just, when I get home, when I see a bed, I just want to lay down and sleep.
Right.
That's it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Next day I wake up, go through my day, and it must be the same for like the vast majority of people in history, right? Where there was only duty and that's it. You do what you need to do, and then maybe, I don't know, maybe you have a wife, I don't know, but there's no like easily accessible dopamine addictions like there is now, where you can scroll endlessly. Like, and I mean, to be fair, like Instagram and TikTok are soft core pornography as well, usually, right?
Basically, yeah, for sure.
Looking at boobs and butts, that's what you do as a dude.
Yeah. In fact, it's sometimes it's more stimulating to the dopamine receptors because something is hidden.
Oh,
and you know what I'm saying? So it's actually,
Yeah.
A lot of guys would rather look at something that is not the full thing, because then they can, like, it's more addicting. It
Yeah,
feels
you can
more,
imagine.
like you're right.
Yeah.
So, but it is, I mean, it's unfortunate because, you're old enough, when I was young, I was telling my fiance how it's like before we had the internet. I mean, I wish I could go back to that time, right? I wish I didn't have email. If I could
Yeah.
get rid of email, I would love to get rid of email,
100%,
right?
man.
Social media. And just when we were kids, we went outside and we played all day.
Yeah.
And then I got a video game like the original Nintendo stuff. Like for Christmas and for my birthday, I got a new one. So when Contra came out, I figured out how to beat that thing
Shit,
without
yeah.
the Konami code, without the up, down,
Yes.
down, left, right, BA, start, right. I was able to beat it in 3 lives. You know what I mean? Because that's all I had to play. So I just
Yes.
played the hell out of that thing when I got it. Now there's thousands of choices. There's too much stuff out there, and
Yeah.
so it's become more complicated. It's a sad time, I feel like, for, the world that we're living in. I feel like, the 80s 90s was the best, almost kind of the best time, the pinnacle of humanity almost.
I think, I think I agree, actually. Yeah. I mean, as for all the good that internet, brought us, a lot of bad came with it as well. And I mean, remember the time when we had to go through like the library or the encyclopedia to find stuff? Now, everything you need is within reach, right? The Google, and people are dumber. Like, I get all these retarded questions from people. I'm not thinking, dude, it used to be had to go to the library or the encyclopedia, and now you're asking me stupid questions when it's just, it's just one type away. It's easy.
Yeah.
I think. It's
when
bizarre.
I was a kid, I remember my parents got the Encyclopedia Britannica, right? They got sold that. And I would stay up at night just reading the damn encyclopedia, just like, fuck, like, let me, like, I went through the entire encyclopedia. I think I read the entire thing because it was just fascinating to me to learn about it. And that's all how you could learn about it. There was no other way to learn about it. How else are we going to learn about all this random stuff?
True.
So,
no, same here. Like, no, it's the same. Like, we have the same experience, and it's just bizarre. And in a way, it's sad that if you grow up in a time where internet is a thing or smartphones are a thing, that you never get to experience that. Like, and I feel like an old man saying that. Not that old, but it's it's just sad. Like, you want to go back. I do agree with that. Yeah. And you mentioned that, like, currently you have a fiance. Like, what is your view on marriage in general?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I mean, I think that, I think that you have to be really, really selective and really, really smart about it. And you have to be ready yourself, because it's much more difficult. It's easier to, well, here's kind of how I would put it. A lot of guys are like, especially in the kind of, men's space, manosphere space, they're like, okay, well, the 1950s and 60s, that's when it was good. That's when, women appreciated men and all this, and you could be the man of the house. And like, so in that case, women couldn't really make their own money as much, and so, like, they didn't have Instagram and guys hitting their professional sports players hitting their DMs. There wasn't dating apps where they could realize that most guys are ugly, or like get that in their minds, and have the top 10% of guys, right, because that wasn't the reality. So they didn't have those overinflated view of themselves. So, but a lot of times what would happen is they would just settle for a guy because this guy makes money, he has a good job, I can start a family, and settle for the guy. So they're not really still truly in love with the guy, to a degree. So a lot of guys fantasize about that time period and think of that as a great time period. So, but I think it's better now, because in order for you to really, like, win over a girl, to really, really, really have her really be dedicated and love you, like, you have to be both that guy that is successful, but also the guy that knows how to treat her right and can understand the emotional aspect of femininity and the torrents of emotion that women have, but still have respect for himself and still, stand his ground and have boundaries. Like, to be that, like, it causes you have to be so much of a better guy, which is a good thing. But the rewards are greater as well, because when a woman finds a guy like that, she will go crazy and do anything for him because there's so few of them. And so it's easier now more than ever to be that, because there's so little competition, because most guys suck. They suck in every area of their life, and they're not even trying. And so if you want to become a top 10%, top 5% guy, you can really do that. And then you can have your pick of women. And now at this point, though, as far as getting married, you need to make sure that you have found the right woman who does not disrespect you, that you have set sort of these standards that you have for yourself, and make sure that you take her through those. So, I'm for it. I think that it's a good thing, but it's something that has to be really, really carefully considered. Back, I think, in the 50s or 60s, in that environment, it was a marriage out of necessity.
Yeah,
because
it's almost arranged, right? It's just whatever options there were, that's it.
But now you have to work to make it work, and to really, so it's a much more dangerous proposition, especially with, there it is definitely. I have a lot of guys I coach that have been through divorce just like I have, but have been through the ringer, where the court systems are against them, where especially the family courts, where they're end up, but and a lot of guys will say, well, John, how can you be for marriage and whatnot? I'm like, as a man, part of life is taking risk. And so even guys today, when I'm engaged now, and I had been divorced before, and they're like, well, what if she takes half of your stuff, or what if you get it? Well, then she does, then it happens. Like, it's, I'm betting that it's not going to happen, but there's always a risk for sure. It could, but so what? Then I'll start over. I'll be like, it's part of life. It's like, it's almost like, oh, well, I'm not going to get in an airplane, because what if it crashes? It could crash. Like, you could not get in cars and airplanes and not do anything at all that could risk your life. But there are certain things that you have to do, that you have to take risks, and this is one of them. Now, you should be smart and do a calculated risk in what you're doing. But yeah, I'm for it.
Okay. No, I see. Like, if I would take you back, like, let's say 20 years, and now you're 22-year-old John, like, how would you approach the whole dating field then? Because now you're just a 22-year-old dude. You're not the guy that you are right now, right? You don't have the money, you don't have the influence, you don't have the experience. Like, how do you handle that even?
Well, I would focus not on dating at all.
Yes.
I would focus on building myself as a man, because, having lived it, having had the experience, by the time I was, because once I got my stuff together, and by the time I was 35 or so, kind of around that, then I could have whatever young women that I wanted, 20, 21, doesn't matter. It's so much easier than when I was 20, because I was established, man. Women do want to date an older man that is more so, if you've taken care of yourself. If obviously you can be better in every way. If you when you're older. So why swim against the current, right? When you're younger, guys that are in their 20s, they shouldn't be focusing on they should be focusing on getting their money right, reading a lot of books, getting their physique right, doing all of that stuff, and grounding themselves as a man, learning what it is to be a masculine man, doing some dating, right? But not seriously, not get into long-term relationships until they're like 35, I would say. Maybe a little bit younger, depending on how things go. Maybe a little bit older, but around where you are in life,
right?
Yeah.
That's
actually when you're gonna have the biggest selection too.
That's very beautiful, because people, every guy thinks that there's like a window closing. Like, oh my God, next thing I know, I'm going to be 32 and I'm going to be an old man. Like, bro, that's not the way this works. Trust me.
I was just thinking about this morning too, for some reason. I was like, every single action movie, every single main male acting star, right, from Aquaman to what's his name, Henry Cavill in Witcher, and Black Adam, and and Daredevil, or not Daredevil, Deadpool, right? What's his name?
Holy shit! Even the Wolverine guy is coming back.
Right, Hugh Jackman, right?
Yeah,
they're all like 40. They're all basically around 40.
Yeah.
Right. So like regardless of what anyone says, and that is the age for guys, is around that kind of age range. Maybe 35 to 45 is really the ideal, because that's what you see. I mean, sure, there's like, younger pretty boy type of actors, but majority is like is that range. That's the real masculine kind of character that women go for, that they always cast. So
I agree. Like the Wolverine guy, Hugh Jackman, that's the name.
Yeah.
The guy's 53.
Right.
Coming back to play Wolverine again. Like the amount of steroids that dude has to take. Like it's gonna be like a whole suitcase.
Yeah.
Imagine. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's gonna be fun. Like to go from Wolverine to that, like in terms of like I don't know, like supplements or performance enhancers. Do you take any stuff that's interesting, like that people should know about?
Yeah. So I always give full disclosure that I take TRT. So I started that about, I think 3 years ago, right?
Okay.
And part of the reason why, was a couple of reasons. One, my SHBG levels, which most people don't even know what those are, were extremely high. I think from fasting and running ultra marathons.
Yeah.
But it was tanking my free testosterone, even though my regular testosterone levels were fine.
Yeah.
And then and I felt like just like the kind of the effects of like the low motivation, kind of issues like low libido. And I was listening to Derek from More Plates More Dates, and he was talking about how it was like, because I was lifetime natural up until that point, and he was talking about how it's like, when you hit your kind of your 40s or so, you can like not take TRT or not take a hormone replacement, and it's like, and you'll be okay. But it's like, why not have your 40s and 50s be another decade, like 2 more decades of your 30s? And I was like, you know what? That's when I finally put my ego aside, and I was like, that's like, life quality is probably the most important thing, right? It's like, because I've always preached against using any kind of crutches, and I still do. I think using a crutch in life, but I also looked at it too, and people can check my physique before 3 years ago. I still was jacked and ripped.
100%.
Maybe TRT gave me an extra 5 pounds of muscle. That's that's maybe what it did. But I don't really care, because it makes my life better. So I do that. I started taking a bunch of supplements from donotage.org.
Okay.
So NMN, TMG, resveratrol, sirtuin 6 activator, but basically like all of the kind of biohacking anti-aging stuff. If you listen to any of David Sinclair's stuff, he's right. He wrote a book, I think, called I think it's called Why We Age. But I started proactively taking that stuff because the science behind it looks pretty legit to me. So I feel like that's a really good, we're eventually going to expand. They know why we age and why we die. So, so I feel like that's good. And then, I take creatine, and what do I take? Vitamin D3, because almost everyone's deficient there.
Yeah, true.
And then trying to think what other supplements I did start taking, like a really, really small amount of even though I don't like these, of what do you call it? Not a blood thinner, but a to lower your LDL cholesterol, statin. Very small amount. Rovastatin, like a half dosage, like a half of a half dosage. And then what else do I take? I think that's pretty much it. So
okay. No, I mean, it's all about how you feel, right? It's not so much about the purity of I don't know, the whole moral thing. It never made really much sense to me. Like people, I mean, I talked to 2 guys in the past 2 weeks, and both have like professional athlete backgrounds, and I have this habit of saying, like, everyone that is in professional sports is on steroids. And
exactly, it's true.
Like, and one of them didn't agree with me at all. He started to argue semantics, like, what is steroids, or like, dude, come on. It's just like, come on.
I say the same thing. I say the same exact thing, and this is the reason for it, because if you're a professional athlete or a professional actor, Okay, I can just give you the simple argument for it, which is this: it's like, okay, either steroids work or they don't, right?
Yeah.
If they do work, how the hell are you going to compete with people who are on? Because either
Yes.
no one's on them or everyone is, right?
Yes.
Because you cannot be at the top level. I mean, professional athletics is such a highly competitive, right? This is that it either works or it doesn't work. So there's no
Yes.
way you're going to compete with someone who has an advantage
Yeah.
if you don't. So every
Exactly.
single person has to be on it. And then, and anyone that thinks that everyone in Hollywood that's getting paid millions of dollars to be a superhero, tens of millions of dollars, is not doing everything they can to look as good as you have to
Yeah.
be smoking
Sure,
crack.
buddy.
It is absolute fact that every single athlete and action movie star is on steroids.
Obviously.
It just is what it is. It's no
Yes.
judgment. I mean, hell, if I was professional in one of those, I would be doing it too, for
No,
sure.
but
You
that's my
have to.
exact point. Like, I don't judge at all. Like, I
Yeah.
think it's logical. I would do the same thing. Like, if
Right.
I got paid millions of dollars, yeah, sure, I'll take whatever, testosterone, trembolone, whatever you want me to take.
Right.
I'll show up, man. I'll do it. And I, and I don't even blame him for saying, like, I eat chicken, rice, and broccoli. I don't
Right.
care. Like, like we
What else
both.
are they going to say?
Yeah,
They have
exactly.
to say something. They're not going to
No,
say I'm on a bunch of,
I
they'll
just
lose
inject what they
everything.
tell me to inject. It's fine. Yeah. No, let's
Yeah.
not do
Yeah.
that.
But the one thing I would say though is that, like, for younger guys listening to, is that it is important that you don't use it as a crutch.
Yes.
Right. So again, I had a guy I was coaching and he was like, I want to get on this stuff. And I was like, let's get to your genetic potential first and then
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the discipline to do the hard work, like using anything as a crutch is not a good idea. It's the same thing as, like, don't drink alcohol and go and try to pick up on women. Like you could do it if you want to, if you enjoy it, but first do it without it, so you're not
Yes.
using it as a crutch. Because if you can only have confidence when you have a couple of drinks, you're going to be worthless when you don't have it, right? And so I think that's the thing, is that it's like, just make sure you're not using it as a crutch. If you want to
Yeah.
enhance something once you've already put in the discipline in the work, I have no problem. I don't care. It's just do it in a smart way. But
No, man, I completely agree. Let me ask you one more thing, because I don't want to take too much of your time. So, like I said, my main audience is like young guys trying to get ahead in life. You actually, like, one of the things that I admire most about you is your like ironclad productivity schedule. You're really, really, really good at that. So imagine, like, I take you back again 20 years. Now you're in this time, you have to make something of yourself. Like, what are the behaviors that would most put you ahead of the competition? And if you had to develop a skill, I don't know, like whatever you want to develop, doesn't really matter. Like, you want to make money online, you want to make it in life, like, what do you do?
this one was simple, I would say. I mean, there's a couple of angles or lenses you could look at this, but the one I'll give you today is focus. Just focus on one thing, right? Think Michael Phelps, right? The most successful Olympian athlete of all time.
Yeah.
All he did was just swim every single day for 6 to 7 hours. That's all he did. And look at the results that got him, right? That's the one thing, I don't have very much regrets in life, but if I could go back, I would have picked one thing and focused on that thing. Just live, breathe, eat, obsess about the one thing. Yeah. If you did that with YouTube videos, you could make the best YouTube video. You could have, you could be PewDiePie levels of,
you'd be
right?
a
If you did that with,
right?
Yeah. If you did that with real estate, if you did that with anything, then so that's the biggest thing, is just live, breathe, and eat. Don't try and do 15 million things, right? Just have one thing that you just ridiculously obsess about. Grant Cardone wrote a book called Be Obsessed or Be Average, which is really good about that. But yeah, that's what I would do.
All right. I think that's a great answer, man, because that's one thing that I see missing in a lot of people, where they, where they do something for a couple. I mean, they do something and then they say, I tried everything, doesn't work. And then you ask, like, what did you do? Like, I did it for 2 weeks and it's not working out. Bro, that's not the way life works in general. Like,
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
can't do anything for 2 weeks, right?
You can't try it. You have to make it work.
No,
Make it.
it's true.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let me cut it off right there, because I think this, you gave some great examples, some great, knowledge and wisdom. I do appreciate you coming on. Thanks a lot for sharing. I will be in touch with you about the whole socials and what I should include. But
Okay. Yeah.
thanks a lot, man.
Awesome.
I'm very much
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. It was a great
Thanks, John.
conversation.